Hare Krishna, welcome everybody. This is Krishna Dasa. So today we are going to start from 11.47 and we are going to complete the 11th chapter, the glorious chapter on Vishwarupa Darshanam. So I'm very happy that you all could be with me on this occasion. So before we begin, I will say the prayers to Guru and God and then I'll play the Guru Mantra as well. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurumitamenna Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna.
गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः।
Hare Krishna. So I will play the shlokas. It is 11.47 to 11.55.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha Maya prasannena tavajjunedam Rupam param darshitam atma yogat Tejomayam vishwamanantamadhyam Yanme tvadanyena na drushtapurvam Na veda yagnadhyayanairna danaihi Na chakriyabhirna tapobhirugraihi एवं रूपः शक्य अहं नृलोके द्रष्टुं त्वदन्येन कुरु प्रवीर मा ते व्यथा मा च विमूढभावो दृष्ट्वा रूपं घोरमीदृङ्ममेदम् व्यपेतभिः प्रीतमनाः पुनस्त्वं तदेव मे रूपमिदं प्रपश्य सञ्जय उवाच इत्यर्जुनं वासुदेवस्तथोक्त्वा स्वकं रूपं दर्शयामास भूयः आश्वासयामास च भीतमेनं भूत्वा पुनः सौम्य वपुर्महात्मा अर्जुन उवाच दृष्ट्वेदं मानुषं रूपं तव सौम्यं जनार्दन इदानीमस्मि संवृत्तः सचेताः प्रकृतिं गतः श्रीभगवानुवाच सुदुर्दर्शमिदं रूपं दृष्टवानसि यन्मम देवा अप्यस्य रूपस्य नित्यं दर्शनकाङ्क्षिणः नाहं वेदैर्न तपसा न दानेन न चेज्जया शक्य एवं विधो द्रष्टुं दृष्टवानसि मां यथा भक्त्या त्वनन्यया शक्य अहमेवं विधोऽर्जुन ज्ञातुं द्रष्टुं च तत्त्वेन प्रवेष्टुं च परन्तप मत्कर्म कृन्मत्परमो मद्भक्तः सङ्गवर्जितः निर्वैरः सर्वभूतेषु यः स मामेति पाण्डव ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे विश्वरूपदर्शनयोगो नाम एकादशोऽध्यायः।
Hare Krishna. So those were the last verses of the 11th chapter. So who is reading today?
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Hare
Asha.
Krishna. Asha ji, you are reading?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead. Please start reading and you can read all the translations.
Right. 11.47. The blessed Lord said, O Arjuna, being pleased with you, I have shown you this supreme form of mine through my own yogic power. It is full of splendor, infinite, and primordial, which has never been seen before by anyone other than you. 11.48 Not through the study of the Vedas, sacrifices, charity, rituals, or severe austerities can I be seen in this form, in this word of man, by anyone other than you, O best of the Gurus. 11.49 Do not fear, nor be bewildered upon seeing this terrifying form of mine. Be free from fear, and with a peaceful mind, behold again my personal form that you are familiar with. 11.50 Sanjaya said, having spoken thus, the compassionate son of Vasudeva showed Arjuna his own gentle form again and consoled the frightened Arjuna. 11.51 Arjuna said, O Janardana, seeing this gentle human form of yours, I have now become composed and have returned to my normal state. 11.52 The blessed Lord said, this form of mine, which you have seen, is extremely difficult to behold. Even the gods are ever eager to see this form. 11.53 Not through the Vedas, austerities, charity, and sacrifices can I be seen in this form, as you have seen me. 11.54 But by unalloyed devotion, O Arjuna, I can be known, seen in this form, and even enter into union with me, O conqueror of enemies. 11.55 One who performs actions for me, regards me as the Supreme, is devoted to me, free from attachment and free from enmity towards all being. Such a person comes to me, O son of Pandu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Knowingly or unknowingly, you have read one of the most profound statements in the Bhagavad Gita. I will explain once we start talking about the interpretations. So this is the culmination of 11th chapter, the Vishwarupa Darshanam. So we will be repeating a few messages, but the whole purpose of repetition is to make sure that they are internalized very well. So don't look at it as repetition, look at it more like reinforcement of some very key concepts. So here in these slokas, Krishna is revealing to Arjuna something truly extraordinary. So as you can see, Arjuna was so bewildered because he could not anticipate, he could not expect. It was something totally out of the world. It was spectacular. And this was not just some grand show. It was the very essence of God's limitless nature. That is what was presented there. And to fully appreciate this revelation, it is important to understand the God's divine energy. And this divine energy is what Krishna calls as Yogamaya. Because this Yogamaya is what was responsible for even the divine spectacle that Krishna showed. That Vishwarupam itself was a result of Yogamaya. At the same time, the divine vision or Divya Drishti that he gave to Arjuna, that was also the power of Yogamaya only. So this is what Krishna is explaining. He's saying that it is all my Yogamaya through which I can manifest everything and through which I can also give the power to perceive those manifestations. So earlier in the 4th chapter, Krishna spoke about Yogamaya and he said how he uses that to manifest himself in the material world. So he said, Ajopi sannabhyayatma bhutani mi ishwaropi san prakritim swamadishtaya sambhavam yatma mayaya. That was the 4th chapter where Krishna said that although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, although I am the Lord of all sentient beings, I will still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form through the power of my Yogamaya. So he's emphasizing, he's saying that he is eternal, he is beyond the cycle of birth and death. And still he is appearing on earth through the power of his Yogamaya. So, in other words, that is also an illusion only. But what is the message for us? The message is that Yogamaya is kind of a veil that is hiding the true nature of Krishna. And when will that veil get lifted? It gets lifted when the Lord wills it to be lifted, so that his divine grace can flow freely. So here in chapter 11, Krishna is extending that concept. He is telling Arjuna that, Arjuna, it is only because I am pleased with you. I am pleased with your devotion. I am pleased with your sincerity. I am pleased with your humility. Because of that, I am using my Yogamaya to grant you the ability to witness my Vishwarupa. So in other words, this is not just a kind of a show. It is not just something, grand. It is the essence. It is the manifestation of all the realities, all the worlds, all the beings, all time, it all converging into that one Vishwarupa. That is why it was so much that Arjuna could not handle it. See? So the key takeaway, what we need to really understand here is that this Divya Drishti or divine vision, it is not something that we can achieve using our own efforts. We cannot say that I will do some yoga, doesn't matter, karma yoga, jnana yoga, whatever, even bhakti yoga. We cannot say that I will practice yoga and then I will get divine vision. It's not going to happen, because Krishna himself is saying that that comes only through my grace. It has to be Krishna's grace, and sometimes it comes through the Guru's grace, because it is very necessary. In other words, it is not something that can be earned. So we cannot ever be in a position of I deserve it. No matter what we do, if we are in the mindset of I did something so I deserve it, it will not come to us. So the message is very clear. Grasp on our pride and ego and always be in the mindset of humility, so that Krishna can grant us that vision. And all Krishna is saying is, you need to be pure at heart, you need to be humble, and you need to be devoted. Now, those are the key things that Krishna is asking. See, humility and devotion is being emphasized many times, so we need to really, really internalize that. Because humility allows us to acknowledge our limitations and surrender the ego to the divine will. Whereas devotion purifies us, and it makes us ready to receive the grace of Krishna. And here Krishna is pleased with Arjuna because Arjuna has demonstrated both of these qualities. He has demonstrated humility also, and he has also demonstrated that devotion, the devotion to Krishna. And that is what culminates in Krishna granting him that Divya Drishti. It is not because Arjuna was Mahabaho, or it's not because he was Sabyasachi, it's not because he was Kunti's son, it's not because of any of that. It was because he was humble, he had surrendered, and he had that kind of a devotion towards Krishna. The significance of this, I cannot overstate it, because here we are not saying we want to see something. It's not like going and watching a movie. It is truth itself. It is eternal truth itself that we get to perceive. That is why it is so, important, it is so divine and so incomprehensible. And Krishna himself has said that, Arjuna, you got it because of my special favor to you. Why is Krishna saying that? He wants to make sure Arjuna remains in that mindset of humility. He wants to make sure that Arjuna now doesn't get into a mode of pride, saying that, oh, I saw Krishna's, Vishwarupa. Then he goes back in his journey, correct? So Krishna wants to make sure that Arjuna stays humble, and that is why he is repeating again to Arjuna, saying, it is because I was pleased with you and I have graced you. That is why you got this Divya Drishti. And again, what are the qualities that made Arjuna eligible for this? Humility, purity of heart, unwavering devotion. We have read all of this, correct, in Bhagavad Gita many times, and we will continue to repeat them a few more times until it becomes totally internalized. Very, very important. See, the point is that humility prepares us. It is for us. It is not for Krishna. It is not that Krishna feels good if you are humble in front of him. That is not the point at all. The point is that humility and purity prepares us so that we can receive, that grace of Sri Krishna. It is just like, you have a light bulb and electricity has to pass through it. If electricity has to pass through it, the bulb has to be perfect. The bulb has to be made in a certain way. You have to create a vacuum inside, and there is a process. Only then it can handle that electricity. Otherwise, within a fraction of a second, it will burn. Then electricity passes. Just like that, our body, our mind, it all has to be prepared. And the way to prepare it is, Krishna says, through humility, surrender, that is humility and surrender, through devotion, which is giving us purity, and consistency, ananya chintan. He says those things will help us prepare ourselves. If notice, it is not just Arjuna. One more person had this Divya Drishti at the same time. Who was that? Anybody remembers?
Sanjaya.
Oh, awesome. I'm so happy. You're all paying attention. Yes, Sanjaya also had the divine Divya Drishti. But who gave Divya Drishti to Sanjaya?
Vyasa. His guru.
Guru's grace. Guru's grace.
Correct. So it was his guru. So it has to be the full thing. It's not Vyasa. It is Guru Veda Vyasa. That is the
Guru
context.
Okay.
Okay. So it came from his guru. Of course, Veda Vyas, Guru Veda Vyas is also known to be another incarnation of Vishnu only. But this is showing that divine vision is always a result of divine will. Because Sanjaya was not on a quest to get a Divya Drishti. Sanjaya never went and said, I'm going to do some yoga because of which I'm going to get Divya Drishti. It was least expected. Sanjaya did not even expect to have the Divya Drishti, but he was given. So the message again is, it is not based on what we do. It is based on the grace. The grace of the Guru and the grace of the God. That is what will make us eligible for that. In other words, spiritual wisdom will flow through the Guru. Now, that is why this whole Guru Shishya Parampara is all established, so that it is a way of preparing ourselves, preparing our body and mind to be ready for that ultimate experience of the Lord. It is very symbolic, very deep. It is showing that Lord's grace always will come. The grace will come. Like Sanjaya, as I said, was not on a mission. He was not trying to do any penance and austerities for this. So it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you are from. The grace can come. But Sanjaya had the same qualities. Sanjaya had the same humility. Sanjaya also had that kind of devotion to Krishna. Do you remember that whole scene where Krishna comes as a Shanti Dut and he's trying to make peace? I even shared that clip, Rashmirati, with all of you, where there was a time when he's trying to make sense. Duryodhana just doesn't seem to get it, and eventually he's challenging Krishna, and Krishna gets pretty wild at that time, and he's very angry. And that is one of the times when he showed his divine form, and at that time everybody was scared. Nobody could even have a calm state of mind, because they all got very scared. There are only two people who were not scared. One was Dhritarashtra and one was Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra because he didn't even see what's going on. And Sanjaya because he was in the mindset of Samatvam, he was in the mindset of humility. And that is what made him eligible for the Divya Drishti. So this message is actually a message of hope. When we say that the Divya Drishti can come only through divine grace, it is actually a message of hope. Because what it means is, doesn't matter where we are in our spiritual journey, doesn't matter how advanced we are or how elevated we are, the grace can come. It can come to you, it can come to me, it can come to all of us. It is possible. So furthermore, this also reminds us of the limitlessness of Sri Krishna, because what we have to also understand is the way Arjuna is explaining, what he sees in front of him. See, we all know today, based on modern science, we all know that technically the universe is infinite. It is infinite for two reasons. First, nobody has been able to measure. And second, scientifically, we have proved that it is always expanding. So in other words, if it is always expanding, that means you can measure it today, but tomorrow it will be more than that. So it is infinite. But then this whole universe itself is contained within Krishna. So then how infinite and how vast Krishna should be? So if we cannot comprehend even the scope of this universe, how can we comprehend that entity in whom this universe resides, or from whom this universe came? So that is the kind of vastness, limitlessness of Sri Krishna. And that can be perceived only through surrender, devotion and grace. As you know, even the universe we could not perceive. Even today, with all the instruments that we have, we still cannot perceive the universe with our senses. So if you see the scientists, the way they describe it, they will always say, the scientists who are true, they will always say the known universe. Whenever they talk about the universe, they will always say, in the known universe, this is the phenomenon that we are observing. Because there is still an unknown universe. We have not been able to perceive that. So how can we perceive something that is, infinitely more infinite? Not through intellect, not possible. It's only through divine grace. Very, very important. So then what happens? Then here is where we left Arjuna in the last session, where he is now bewildered. He's terrified. He's disturbed. He becomes anxious. And he's telling Krishna, Krishna, I'm not able to handle this. Can you please come back to that pleasing form, the form that I'm able to handle? And this is where we are seeing the compassion of Krishna again, where Krishna now reassures him. He's now reassuring Arjuna with compassion. And he's telling Arjuna that, Arjuna, don't be afraid. Instead of being afraid, you should only feel deeply blessed and privileged that you were granted such a rare divine vision to see this kind of truth in front of you. But at the same time, Krishna also knows that there are limitations for the human mind, limitations for how much the human can handle. So he recognizes that. And so he's asking Arjuna first, he's saying, Arjuna, first please let go of the fear. Because you cannot perceive me if you are in a mode of fear. You may remember that earlier also Krishna had said the same thing. He had said that fear is not a virtue. We have to overcome our fears before we can completely comprehend and perceive divinity, perceive the Lord. Krishna's message here is of reassurance. What Krishna is saying is, please don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of the grandeur of the divine. Instead, embrace it with love and reverence. And here Krishna, in his boundless grace, is understanding the limitations of not just Arjuna, but of all of humanity. And then he agrees. He says, okay, Arjuna, I know that you have to come back to calmness. So to make him calm, Krishna again comes back and he reveals to Arjuna the four-armed version. Because it becomes evident that the maximum number of arms Arjuna can handle is 4. So, so Krishna now comes back in that four-armed form, which is called as Chaturbhuja, the Chaturbhuja form of Krishna. So this is symbolizing balance and order in the universe. As you all know, the 4 things that Krishna holds. Anybody remembers what are the 4 things Krishna holds?
Changa, Chakram,
You can raise your hands.
Chakra Gada.
Gada.
Gada Padma.
Yes, Padma is the 4th. Awesome. Okay. Then later on you can go and revise where we explained the significance of each of them. Okay, they all have a significance there. So it is said that that form is a bridge between the infinite and the finite. That is yet another speciality of the Chaturbhuja form. It is acting like a bridge between what you can perceive as finite and what is really infinite. Finally, after that, Krishna then returns to his human form, which is known as the Manushya-Rupa. That form is the most accessible, correct? That's the most accessible form. Now, what does it convey? It is conveying, it's a very beautiful message that God is not some distant entity, but God is somebody who walks with us, who is with us, around us. Because Krishna is choosing that form. It is out of choice, because Krishna has already demonstrated that he can be that grand, that terrifying form also. But then willingly he chooses to be in this two-arm form, this human form. Why? Because it is not just his choosing to be on a human form. What is even more profound, the compassionate aspect of Krishna, is that he willingly takes on the limitations of this human experience. Willingly does that. That is why we say in the end, when Krishna's end happened, a hunter shot an arrow, it hit his toe and he died. But who are we talking about? We are talking about Krishna. We are talking about somebody who is so vast, so grand. So how can that person be impacted by a bow and arrow, right? So Krishna willingly chooses that human form. He willingly takes on those limitations as well, so that we can approach him without fear. Isn't that so profound? Isn't that demonstrating his love and his compassion for all of us? So what Krishna is also telling us is that he does not have to prove his power through overwhelming displays, but he can quietly reside among us. God can be among us. God does not have to always make a grand show of how terrifying and how vast and how strong they are. God can be among us as our friend, as our guide, as a mentor. It's very significant. It's very, very significant, because in our own lives, it is teaching that we may be in awe of the grandeur of the universe, but the divinity, the divine, is not necessarily distant. It is not something somewhere in the universe that we have to go and reach. That God is with us, walking with us, sitting with us, talking to us, in any form. It can be as your teacher, it can be as your parent, it can be as your friend, as your mentor. That is what we need to really internalize and accept. So in other words, sometimes some people always will say, I think I probably already told you this small story. There is this religious man, and he lives in Texas, and he has a two-storied apartment, two-storied house. And very unlikely event that there is a huge flood. It is unheard of. It's very rare, because these people are not used to flood, and suddenly there is a flood. And so now this guy goes from the bottom to the top floor of his house. He's in the roof now. And, one person comes in a boat and says, come with me. And then this guy says, no, God will help me, because I'm a religious person, right? I'm praying. So God will help me. So he doesn't need the guy in the boat. So he goes away. After some time, there is this huge rescue ship that comes. And they again announce, and they say, everybody, we are telling, please come, because this water is going to rise even more, and we are here to save you. And this guy again has the same, he says, no, God will help me. Finally, the water has risen so much that they send a helicopter. The helicopter comes, and there is again an announcement made that, we are throwing a rope down, and please hold on to it so that we can lift you up. And he has the same, no, God will help me, because I am such a religious and spiritual person. Eventually, the water comes so much that he drowns, he dies, and suddenly he finds himself in the gates of heaven, and he's very angry. He's looking at God and saying, I was religious and so faithful all my life. Why did you let me down? Why did you not come and save me? And God says, dude, who do you think was in the boat? Who do you think was in the ship? And who do you think was in the helicopter? The message is, when we say God, what are we expecting? When we say God has to be in front of me, or God has to help me, what are we expecting? Are we expecting that somebody with 1,000 hands and 1,000,000 heads and fire through their nose should come and do something? The message is, it can be a dog, it can be a cat, it can be a friend, it can be a mentor. God can be all of that. God is in all of that, and God can choose to come in any of those rupams to help us, guide us. That is why we have to always be in the mindset of humility. That is why Krishna said, establish that quality of samadarshanaha, where you are able to see me in everything, because that is the truth. So, this whole story of Arjuna and his journey from fear to anxiety and then coming back to composure It is a mirror of our own spiritual journey, is it not? Because sometimes when we are on the spiritual journey, we may be overwhelmed. It may seem very vast, it may seem very complex, it may seem unreachable, it may seem so difficult. But ultimately, the divine will gently reassure us. The divine's grace will help us navigate through all of this. So instead of getting overwhelmed, can I ever succeed? We have to just get into a mindset of humility and faith and say that it is not up to me. I will just do my rightful actions. Krishna has told me to be consistent, I will be consistent. Krishna has told me to be humble, I will be humble. He has told me to be faithful, I will be faithful. He has told me to be, this and that, and I will do all of what Krishna has said. And then Krishna definitely is himself going to help me. He is going to help me succeed. Is the mindset we all need to have based on this episode that we saw in Vishwarupa Darshanam. That is exactly what is happening with Arjuna. Because we can see God with our own eyes also. We just have to be open to the possibility that God may not look the way we expect God to look. If you're open to that, we all can see God every day in our lives. Now, in this section of Bhagavad Gita, now Krishna is revealing one of the most profound truths about the nature of divine, where he says that the divine, Supreme Lord, in essence will transcend all forms, yet it will choose to take on a limited form for our own sake. And this concept may seem very, very hard to understand. And Krishna says that the only way to comprehend this, perceive it, is through bhakti, which comes after humility. So in the Brahma Samhita, which is an ancient text where Lord Brahma himself is glorifying Sri Krishna, there is a description of Krishna as the ultimate source of all existence. So I have taken one sloka from there. It says, Ishvara Param Krishna Sachidananda Vignaha Anadir Adi Govindaha Sarva Karana Karanam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna, who has a body of eternity, knowledge and bliss. Krishna has no beginning, for he is the beginning of everything. He is the cause of all causes. So the essence is, it's talking about the divinity of Krishna, that he's not just some deity, but he is the Ishvara Parama, the supreme controller, the source of all existence. And his form is not like ours. He is not subject to decay or limitation, because his body is made of Sachidananda, which is eternity, knowledge and bliss. He is beyond time, he is full of wisdom, embodiment of all joy. And he is both the beginningless and the origin of everything. That is the phrase, Sarva Karana Karanam, that highlights that Krishna is the ultimate cause behind every cause. In other words, we just need to now understand on one aspect of Krishna is like this, Sarva Karana Karanam and limitless and beyond everything and all of that. On the other hand, we are talking about somebody who is running behind cows and who is playing a flute and who is dancing with gopis. So this is where it becomes a little hard for us to really understand then what really is Krishna. That is what Arjuna was asking Krishna. When he saw the Vishwarupam, Arjuna was like, I'm used to seeing you just like a simple cow herd, dancing with women and playing the flute. But now what am I seeing? And he's saying, Krishna, what are you really? Help me. So that is the message for all of us. So the concept that the divine can be assuming countless forms, where Krishna can manifest as vast, all-encompassing, universal form, like the Vishwarupam that Arjuna saw. At the same time, he can also take intimate forms, normal forms, human forms. So this may seem like a paradox, and that is what makes the nature of God so difficult to comprehend. We cannot comprehend through logic. See, if you understand, the paradox is very simple. If as a bhakta, I am saying that God, please show me. Put yourself in that shoes of a bhakta. You are the bhakta now. You are now praying. You are saying, God, reveal yourselves to me. Now tell me, what are you actually expecting? Are you expecting the sky full of fire? No. What are you expecting? You are expecting a human form, aren't you? knowingly or unknowingly, we are expecting that we will now see a beautiful human in front of us. See, that is our limitation. So to take care of us, God has to then put himself in that limiting forms. Then he has to put himself through those limiting plays and limiting games. It is for us. Today when we say Murlidhara, when we say Govinda, when we say Krishna, it makes us feel good. Why? Because it is a simple form. It is a charming form. If the form was that of, a million suns and so much heat and so much fire, that won't be pleasant for us. We cannot handle that, right? So instead of questioning, if you are God, how come you are running around and how come you are dancing? We have to actually be in a mindset of, oh God, you being so great, you still choose to be all that. Just for my sake, you are choosing to be silly. You are choosing to be funny. For me. That should put us more in a mindset of humility, in a mindset of bhakti. That is the whole message of Vishwarupa Darshanam that we need to take away. So in the 11.54, Krishna is again telling Arjuna, he's saying, oh Arjuna, by unalloyed devotion alone, I can be known, I can be seen in this form. And you can even enter into union with me, O conqueror of enemies. Beautiful, isn't it? So Krishna is emphasizing that the divine cannot be understood by study. It cannot be understood through analysis. It cannot be understood through intellect. But it can be understood only by wholehearted devotion. Bhaktaya tva ananya. That is by devotion that is focused solely on Krishna. Without any distractions or diversions. So see, the path of devotion is not about gathering facts. The path of devotion is not about knowing things. It is not about I know 100 verses or I know 50 languages. That is not the path of devotion. It is a path of devotion is a relationship of love and surrender. For that you may need some knowledge. Knowledge to understand that ultimately what is required is love and surrender. But at the end of the day, the love and surrender is what is going to make us successful yogis. See, the knowledge has to be kept somewhere. It has done its job. See, the phrase that Krishna uses is very powerful, where Krishna says, standing before you, very, very significant, because Krishna is revealing that he is not some distant, abstract entity. He says, I am standing right in front of you, fully accessible. To whom? Accessible to whom? Those who walk the path of devotion. Those who are surrendered. I'm accessible to them. That is the message. Very, very beautiful. And then Krishna is also saying, you can enter into union with me. Isn't that so profound, so powerful? Where he is saying, move beyond this intellectual understanding and just follow my teachings, get into a mode of humility, get into a mode of surrender. And why perceive me? You can actually become me. You can get into union with me. What does it mean when you say you can get union with me? It basically means you can become me. How much more compassionate can a God get? Very, very, very profound, very beautiful. So, path of devotion, that is why it is so beautiful. So what Krishna is ultimately telling Arjuna and all of us is, intellect takes you only so far. Intellect is required. It is required only to get rid of avidya. It is required to get rid of ignorance. But then, that is its job and that's all. After that, you have to get onto the vehicle of bhakti. That is what is going to take us all the way till Krishna. That is why Krishna has focused on Ananya Bhakti. Krishna is not talking about intellect at that point. When Krishna says, I will take care of you, there the requirement is Bhakti, not intellect. Correct? Very important. So what is the ultimate goal of that Bhakti? The ultimate goal is not to intellectually know the Lord, but to actually perceive the Lord. And when you perceive the Lord, you become the Lord. You become one with the Lord. That is the ultimate goal. And that is the destiny of every soul. That is not for some privileged person. Every soul, that is its destiny. That is the goal. So this message is a message of great hope and encouragement. The message is, No matter how complex or overwhelming the divine may seem, just through simple devotion, we can not only understand this God but also become one with that God. It's a very, very empowering and very powerful message for us, all of us. So, what Krishna has done, if you can see, he has first made Arjuna understand or realize that actually how grand he is and how vast he is and how terrifying he can be and all of that. And then he makes Arjuna understand that in spite of all of that, I am standing in front of you as a simple human. That is for you, for your benefit, and that is my compassion. So I want you to focus on my compassion. And you focus on my compassion, make the most of it by yourself being in a mode of devotion and humility and surrender. That is all. That is how the message is. Very beautifully woven through all these stories. And then we come to the most profound sloka of this chapter and probably one of the most profound slokas of the Bhagavad Gita. So Ashaji, this is what I was talking about. That is 11.55. Because it is summarizing. It is summarizing. What is it summarizing? Like Krishna just said that you can reach me. Krishna said you can get into union with me. Now in 11.55, Krishna is summarizing what we need to do to succeed in reaching Sri Krishna. So after telling everything about how grand I am, how this I am, how that I am, how compassionate I am, and after giving an assurance that you can reach me, you can merge into me, now finally he concludes the 11th chapter by telling us how we can actually succeed in reaching him. So that is why it is so powerful and so profound. So that sloka is mat karma krin mat parmo mad bhaktah sangavarjitah nirvairah sarvabhuteshu yasa mam eti pandava. Beautiful sloka. So let us break it down. Mat karma krit means one who performs actions for me. Does it resonate with you? We have already studied this in Karma Yoga when we studied chapter 3 and 4. He said, perform rightful actions and perform it as an offering to me. Then, Mat Paramaha, which is one who considers me to be the supreme goal. Then Mad Bhaktaha is my devotee. Sangha Varjitaha. Varjita means without. Sangha Varjita means without attachment. Nirvairaha Sarva Bhuteshu. Nirvairaha, without enmity. Sarva Bhuteshu, towards all living entities. Yah sa mameti Pandava. Yah, such a person, mam eti Pandava, attains me, O Pandava. See, this has pretty much encapsulated everything that you need to succeed on the path. So maybe I can delve slightly deeper into each of them again. So first one was Mat Karma Krita, who performs actions for me. So Krishna begins by highlighting the importance of acting with a spirit of dedication without, running behind the results. In other words, when you act, when you do rightful action, do it only because you are doing it as an offering to Krishna. Doesn't matter big or small actions. By offering everything to Krishna, the act itself becomes sacred and spiritually purifying. The second point was Mat Paramaha, which is one who considers me the supreme goal. Krishna is emphasizing that, we should regard him as the purpose of this life. In other words, everything else can be a means, not the end. Like you can go and make money, that's okay, but money cannot be the goal. The money has to be a means to let you practice devotion peacefully and reach Krishna. So everything that you do in life, you have to look at it as a means of reaching Krishna and not as a goal in itself. The only goal should be the goal of reaching Krishna. Then Mad Bhaktaha is my devotee. Mad Bhaktaha means someone who is practicing unconditional love, selfless love, and having complete faith in Krishna. That is Mad Bhaktaha. So it is not just, the faith doesn't mean every day somebody is, in the morning going and lighting a diya and, ringing a bell and, rotating an agarbatti. That is not what is described here. It is talking about inner surrender and complete trust in Sri Krishna. That is the real Mad Bhakta he's talking about. A deep emotional connection. And then he says Sangha Varjitaha, which is Without any attachment Krishna is now advising that if you are a Mad Bhakta, then you have to be free from these material attachments, material possessions, material desires, and also the attachment to outcomes of everything that you do, that you have to get over. So it does not mean you should not have any goals or ambitions. All it means, as I just said in the first part of this whole sloka, is go ahead, achieve what you want to achieve. But the mindset should be, this is just a means and not a goal. The ultimate goal is always Krishna. Have that mindset and go and do your rightful duties, rightful actions, and succeed in life. Because by being Sangha Varjitaha, we can maintain inner peace. That is the only way to have peace. The way to have peace is getting rid of attachments, because your peace never goes away because of what you did. The peace always goes away because of the outcome. Either the outcome is not as per your expectation, or the outcome is not as per your satisfaction, and so on and so forth. Or there is no outcome. you're like, why did I do all this? I'm not seeing any results. So all of this is what takes away our peace. So Krishna says, just avoid that part, and then you will be peaceful. Okay? Because Krishna says, at the end of the day, realize that all outcome is depending on me. As I always say, if you want a mango tree, you have to sow a mango seed. That is your rightful action. You have to do it. But you should never get into a mindset that that tree is because of me sowing a seed. That is the problem. Because you didn't create the seed. At the same time, you didn't create the soil. You didn't create sunlight. You didn't create water. So many things beyond your control. But all of that is what makes it a tree. You see? So we have to have that humility. Humility that says, I have done what I was supposed to do. I have sowed the seed, and then I am letting the results in Krishna's hands. If Krishna thinks this is the right place for a tree, may a tree come. If Krishna thinks this is not a right place for the tree, let it not come. It's okay. I'm not going to become perturbed with that. That is the whole message. It is not that, Krishna will just manifest a mango tree because I want a mango tree. I don't have to do anything. That is wrong. At the same time, thinking that because I sowed the seed, now everything is because of me, that is also wrong. All Krishna is saying is, sow the seed and be in the mindset that the tree is because of things beyond your control. I hope that makes sense. So, Swami Ranganathananda, he is also a very great orator. He talks really well, and I have attended some of his lectures. He can explain concepts very beautifully. And he explains the term detachment very beautifully in one of his lectures. So that is why I wanted to convey that message to you. So Swamiji says that suppose you have a child and suppose you love him or her. Now it is based on attachment. If it is based on attachment, then what happens is you are always in the mindset of I love him or I love her because it is my child. So the emphasis is always on that because. The emphasis is not on the child. You see, that love you feel, the care you feel is because it is my child. You take away the because, the love goes away. You see, because do you feel that kind of love when you just see some stranger's child? No. Why? That because is missing, na? What is different between this child and that child? The only difference is now you think this child belongs to you because it is my child. And that child you don't think belongs to me. You see? That is why there is love here and there is no love there. So Swamiji says that attachment becomes binding. It becomes limiting. What if you did not have that attachment? In other words, that child, what if you are loving that child just because it's a child, not because it is yours? In other words, that because is not the emphasis now. The emphasis is the child. See? So if you can get into that kind of a love, then you see a stranger's child, you'll still feel the same love. You see? Because the love was based on it being a child. Huh? So it doesn't matter whose child it is, the love will still come in your heart. So Swamiji very beautifully says, based on this example, that when there is no attachment, you actually become more loving. Because the scope of your love increases. And what happens when you are totally detached? The love becomes all-encompassing. That is how you become somebody like Krishna. That is how Krishna can say, I am Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. Because Krishna he is not a victim of any attachment. So if he loves you, he loves me also, he loves them also, he loves the ant also, he loves the elephant also. Because he loves them because they are bhutas. There is no other because. You see the beauty? So that is why this message of not having attachment is so important, so that we can align with the goal of bhakti. Because the goal of bhakti is in the end having a heart full of love, unconditional selfless love, which will come only when you don't have attachments. So I hope that is making sense. It's a very, very important concept that detachment actually helps us. Detachment helps expand the scope of our love. And then the fifth was Nirvairha Sarva Bhuteshu, which is the same, without enmity towards any living being. That is based on the same teaching. Be equanimous, see Krishna in everything. And then concluding, Krishna says, Yasa Mameti Pandava. Such a person attains me, O Pandava. I think it's kind of very, very simplified way Krishna has given us a formula. Dedicate your actions, have unwavering devotion, practice detachment, have compassion. And I think you have made it. Then you are going to come to me. See? Very beautiful. So that just one sloka, Shankaracharya says that Adi Shankaracharya has said that one sloka can probably be considered the gist of Bhagavad Gita. Because if you follow that completely, then you can achieve the goal that Bhagavad Gita wants us to achieve. So with that, we can conclude chapter 11, and I can bring out the 11th pragma. The 11th pragma is, be compassionate and do not have hatred towards any living being. Hatred is a very, very limiting emotion. Don't give in to that. So Hare Krishna, I hope this all made sense. I can open the floor for any quick questions or comments. After that, I can stop the recording and we can start the quiz. Or maybe I can stop the recording now and then I can ask questions. Okay.